Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're doing good today, and welcome back to the Clarion Chat podcast. Let your voice be heard. The podcast where your voice does matter for real. I'm Vayan Kwame, aka Big Joe, your host of the day, and I'm joining with my co-host, coming straight from Indonesia, Zoo.
What's up? How's it going, Big Joe?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty fine, and yourself?
I'm doing good.
Cool,
Doing great,
cool.
doing
You're
great. I'm
looking good.
excited. I'm excited for this podcast.
I am too. You're looking good today, bro.
You too, man.
What's your secret, man?
I don't know.
You don't know? All right. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Thompson, Sinclair Chief Police Officer. Woo-hoo. Give it up.
Hey, thank you. It's an
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
honor being here with you guys.
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming. We're so excited.
So excited. So can you please introduce yourself to the people and give some more information about you?
Yeah, my name's Tom Thompson. I'm the police chief at Sinclair. I've been here about 2 years. I'm retired from street policing and from healthcare policing, and I also do some teaching in prisons. And
Nice.
so I've spent almost 30 years in law enforcement. So I'm here to talk to two very cool, young, handsome guys
All right. Thank you.
from the
for
other side of the
compliment.
world. Yes.
That's it. Thank you
Yeah.
for the compliment. You say you teach in prison.
Yes.
What subject do you teach?
I teach business classes, various business and human resource classes. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
How many students was like during that time?
You know, some classes are smaller where maybe there's like 6 or 8, and some classes maybe there's close to 20 different students in the classes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they good students?
Very.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've taught in. Now this is not a knock on you guys, but I've taught in the regular college setting before, and I've been impressed with how intelligent some of the guys that are behind bars are that are someday going to be getting out, and so they're doing everything they can to make sure that when they come out they can be successful. So they're getting an education, and a lot of them are wanting to start their own businesses. So yeah, very very intelligent, driven young men.
I was
Interesting.
wondering, before you got your job or profession as a police, did you ever imagine that you'll work as a police when you were like a kid? Or is that your dream job? Was that?
It was not. No, I grew up wanting to coach basketball and be a math teacher.
Okay.
And so my first several years in college, I was studying math education. And really the truth of it is, there's something for everybody. And we got into math classes that were so difficult and so abstract that my brain didn't function that way anymore. But one of the things I did do when I played college basketball is we would go into the Indiana State Penitentiary and play every year. And so I had a chance to play with the inmates and really the world of criminal justice, the opportunity to be interacting with individuals who have made some mistakes or people that are suffering from poverty or other type of traumas. I just thought it was a great profession to get in and make a difference. So that's why I ended up choosing policing.
Okay.
2 reasons. I wasn't smart enough to be math. But I was smart enough to work with people. So, yeah.
Nice. So how long has it been, you were working as a police until today? You were retired because
Yes.
previously.
Yep. I retired from a city where I was a detective supervisor and an assistant chief and came up through the patrol ranks. So in total, we are at over 28 and a half years of policing.
No.
28. Wow.
Wow. So how does it feel like 28 when you look back?
Are you guys 28 yet?
I am 28 this August.
I don't want to say that I'm lying.
So
People will assume, because you don't want to say, they will assume you're like something else, bro.
Just forget about it.
28-ish. You're 28-ish. You're close.
Yeah,
You're around 28.
somewhere,
somewhere after that.
Yeah. So ask that question again. I'm sorry.
How does it feel? I mean, working in 28 years, looking back when you were like first time work as a police.
Yeah.
It's very different, because when I first got into policing, I was younger. I was in my 20s and really didn't have the life experience or maturity yet to really be able to look at policing from the point of view of the immensity of the impact that you can have on people's lives. I think, sometimes it can be scary, and sometimes crazy things happen, and you're just getting through the days, and maybe it's a rush, and you enjoy the rush as a young person. But I think as I've gotten older and gotten more mature, and learned a lot more about life and had families of my own and grandkids now of my own, I can really look at it differently and try to lead from a police chief position and really teach people that are young and coming up through the profession the opportunities they have to make a difference and how to change people's lives around. And when people are at their, at the end of the line for them, help be able to give them hope and sometimes help take people that are bad people away so they can be safe.
I wanted to ask this question, like, what brought you on the path of police work? Like, is there any specific or particular story?
I think just a lifelong desire of wanting to make a difference in people's lives, to serve people. Really, at the end of the day, police are public servants, and the opportunity to serve other people every day is just tremendous. And I think if I look back on my life, where did I get that desire to serve? I would look at it and say it was from my parents.
Okay.
So when I was young, we had people we didn't have any money when I was young. We were very poor, but we always had people from all over the world in our house all the time. And my mom and dad, my dad was a pastor, he was a minister, and they always made a big deal on how important it was to make sure that we were serving and we were making a difference in people's lives. So I think just that desire that had been passed down from my parents, which is what now I've tried to do with my own kids, and I see the importance as you guys will have families someday to really pass that servant attitude onto them. It makes a difference.
Okay. So what would you like the public to know about your day-to-day experiences?
Right now it's very different than it would have been 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I would have been driving from home to home to call where people have had issues that they need resolved. 15 years ago, I would have been investigating homicides and, other horrible crimes against people. Now, in my position now, I get the opportunity to lead and really be able to look back on a career and help build a great culture in our police department that inspires other people to serve, to treat those that they're connecting with empathy and kindness, but also, in policing, we all want hugs and we all want to feel good, and I want to make sure that. And my guys might not be huggers or anything like that, but I want to make sure that they're treating people with kindness and empathy and really helping move the ball forward in their life. But at the same time, if something bad happens here, you're going to want our officers to be able to handle business. Because bad things do happen around the country. And so we also do a lot of training with our firearms. We do a lot of training dealing with difficult people to make sure that not only can we be empathetic and kind and give you guys big hugs, but if somebody does something horrible here, that we are also able to intervene and make sure everybody's safe and well, provide a nice, safe campus community.
Gotcha. It's an incredible job being a police officer, especially I remember when I was a kid, I think being a police is like every kid dream job when they were like being an adult or their like future dream job. But then I was just curious, looking back when you were like first time working as a police officer, what was the most lesson learned that you have, I think you have earned, and then today that you thought that might be useful for aspiring police officer out there?
So I think two things. One, I like to talk to young people that want to get into policing about all of the hit you're going to take on your mental health. It is very, very hard mentally. Not only is there a lot of pressure to solve crimes and you have to know things, but you are exposed and see things on an almost daily basis if you're working in the streets. that other people don't even know exist. The horrible things that humans do to other people and the graphic nature of the results of those horrible things, officers are experiencing. And officers really, if you don't have your mind right and you don't have healthy outlets like whatever you're eating, family, friends, making sure you're getting your sleep, exercise, could be spiritual, whatever those outlets are. If you don't have healthy outlets, you know, a lot of officers can suffer a lot of mental health problems because of the things they see. The other is because we all come from a certain background. And when we grew up with everybody that was just like us.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way the world is.
Yes, sir.
And so Mark Twain has a quote that it's not what you don't know that won't hurt you. So if you don't know something, you can learn something. It's what you just know for sure that just ain't so. So it's the things that we think that we know about, and we're not open to learning from other people, and we just dig our feet in and think that we know the way things are. As a police officer, you can't do that. You have to be open-minded. You have to get to know people that aren't like you and understand where they're coming from, understand their culture, their background, in order to really be able to help serve them best.
Joe, these are like a tremendous tips that I think the aspiring police officer out there that really need to hear, because like mental health, this is like everybody's issues around the world. This is a very important.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm like, how do you feel when, for instance, you have observed a scene of crime, for instance? Like, how do you deal with those feelings and emotions?
Yeah. So, you know, whether it's, I've been the lead investigator on a couple really horrible homicides, you know, with very graphic scenes. I also investigated child pornography for 5 years.
Wow.
So hundreds of thousands of images of children being hurt and tortured. And so how do I feel? So at the time, you hope that you're trained well enough and you're disciplined well enough that if this room was a crime scene and there was evidence all over the room, that I would come in and be able to look at this very scientifically and be able to identify evidence, make sure that I collected evidence in the way I needed to collect it, because my job is, at the end of the day, make sure that I get the evidence I need to prove the case, make sure that I find whoever committed the crime and be able to get a confession for them as well. Yeah. And you have to be businesslike and in order to be able to do that with a clear mind. Because if something horrible happened in this room and the police officer walked in, it just was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and wanted you to hold him, you'd probably think, I don't feel very safe.
Yeah.
And so these crimes, it's not just that day, it's 2 years later when you're prosecuting those in court. So you have to really be very meticulous and businesslike. That being said, it doesn't ever leave your mind. You're not always in crime scene investigation mode. You go home someday, you close your eyes and fall asleep someday.
That's it.
You drive by things that remind you of things that you've been involved with, and that's where it becomes much tougher. And, you know, stuff doesn't go away. Everybody deals with it differently. I try to make sure I'm exercising, eat right most of the time. And I think, you know, for me, my faith is a really big part of it.
To address that part.
And how I can look at something from a different point of view. So, yeah.
Well, that leads me to my next question, actually, related to your investigating crime experience.
Yes.
What's the most cases that you've been investigated for, and what's the challenges?
What are
The crime case that mostly you have, you know, investigate?
I've investigated where I was at a city, it was a medium, smaller size city. So we had to investigate all the crimes,
Yeah.
all of them. And of course, there's a lot more thefts, you know, a lot more people stealing than there are people killing.
Thefts,
So,
yeah.
you know, you have more of those property crimes than you do violent crimes. But, you know, really, at the end of the day, investigating a crime, you have to realize it's not about you at all. You have to do a really good job, but it's about making sure that that victim has some resolution in their life. has some closure in their life about what happened, or if it's property, it's something that you can get back for them. And it's also making sure that the offender, if it's not a violent crime or anything, maybe the offender is somebody that you can work with and help redirect them in life and help make an improvement in their life so that they can go on and do the same in their family or their influences. Or if it's somebody that is committing horrible violent crimes, it's important to make sure that they're in a place where they can't hurt people. And you have to keep in mind that everything that you collect, everything that you say, everything that somebody else says, you have to document, do everything in such a precise manner that 2 years down the road, there's some cases where I've had boxes of evidence and reports that you've had to memorize to be able to make sure that it goes through court. Because if you don't do your job from day one in the investigation through the day the case is adjudicated through court, then the victim doesn't get their resolve. The person who might be preying on other people, the right thing doesn't happen. And so you just have to be very meticulous, very precise over a long period of time.
Okay. I had this question at the very beginning of the podcast. Like, how does it feel, like you being a chief now? Because people can say, like, "Oh man, you a chief. You have all the power. You can decide stuff. You can decide stuff." So, how does it feel, and what are the responsibilities that are attached to your role?
Feels very powerful. No, it doesn't.
I want that power, man.
Actually, my wife's in Orlando, Florida now, and I told her, I said, click on this, watch this Facebook Live. So she knows that I'm not even the chief in my own house. She's not impressed, so she keeps me humble, I guess. So, chief is just a title. I don't look at that as a badge of honor or anything like that. I look at that as an opportunity to be able to influence a group of people to do things better and help make whatever jurisdiction you're in safer. It's an opportunity to kind of build a great culture, keep people safe, keep people happy, and help enrich people's lives that are in your community. So that's what I look. It's an opportunity to influence.
So in terms of challenges, what are the challenges that you have been experiencing?
Well, in any organization, the higher up you go, the more responsibilities you have that you never knew were there to begin with. So, you're always working within your budget. Anytime you're in a profession where you have people involved, people are complicated.
Yeah.
People are just complicated.
Really.
And I'm not talking about just officers. I'm talking about officers and communities that you're working in. It's a complicated business.
Yeah.
And so making sure that you have the right policies and procedures, you're able to communicate and be transparent, you have the right amount of training to make sure that your staff is not only able to deal with individuals when there's no crime and be able to help walk them through situations, but also when there is crime that you can appropriately respond. So you have all these different pieces that when I was a patrolman, I was just in my cruiser, and I'd go to a call, and I'd take the report, and I'd do interviews and stuff, and now it's a much more holistic view of how all the pieces of the department, and then how all of the other entities, like today I was at the Boys and Girls Club of Dayton, how can we interact better with others in our community? All these other entities that play in and connect to the police departments, you're also juggling those.
Yeah. Chief, I want the audience or our podcast listeners, take away some tips from you, especially the leadership traits that you have during your chief police experience. I mean, what are the leadership traits that you'll give to us? And then can you elaborate one experience that highlighted your leadership traits?
I think as a leader, there's an author and a speaker named John Maxwell, and he says that,
I love them.
You do.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
One of the things that he says is, everything rises and falls on leadership. And being in leadership, you have to realize you have an enormous responsibility. And your responsibility is to people. And if you're in the service business, which is what we are, everything that I and my department, everybody under my influence, should have at the heart of everything we do is serving people.
Yeah.
So I think one would be make sure that you understand the magnitude of your responsibility, and two, understand what your purpose is, and really make sure that your team and your troops buy into that purpose. And our purpose is to serve people and make a positive difference in lives. Was there one incident that I can think of where I learned that? I think there's value in getting older.
Sure.
And
become
as you
wiser.
get older,
You get wiser.
yeah, well, you get humbled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so you
agree.
make a lot of mistakes. You run into a lot of walls that you didn't have to run into because you just didn't know any better. Step in a lot of holes that you didn't see that now I'll see them. And so I think that, there's value in getting older, but I think really at the end of the day, what that does is it humbles you.
Quick
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
So the advice to the youngster out there is make a lot of mistakes, so you'll learn from it, isn't it?
I would say, don't purposely make a lot of
That's
mistakes.
it.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
don't say something like, "Hey, I'm just going to go do whatever I want, and then I'll just learn from those mistakes."
That's
I
it.
mean,
That's
if
it.
you know right from wrong,
Yeah.
do the right thing. But what you are bringing up is so important, and I think it's really important because we all will fail. I'll fail.
Oh,
20 years from now, I'm going to
Yeah,
fail.
yeah.
But it's failing forward.
forward. Yeah.
So
Nice.
keep moving forward. So fail, but fail forward. Get up, keep moving forward. And I listened to a speaker not long ago talk about if you keep moving, failure has a hard time keeping a hold of you.
That's powerful.
So keep moving, keep walking, get up, be resilient, but don't be afraid to fail because you're not going to get. Nobody gets anywhere great without failing a lot.
That's it.
That's powerful.
And but just fail forward.
Thank
Nice.
you. Thank you for those words of wisdom. I want to address your nonprofit because I read an article about you and they mentioned your nonprofit. So can you tell us more about your nonprofit and how did the idea generated in your mind?
Yeah, my oldest son is from Central African Republic. And so when he came to the United States, my wife and I, we had a very up-close, first-hand look at how hard it was for somebody to come into a new culture and have to learn a new language and just come do it all from scratch and integrate and be successful in America. And then some years after that, I have made a lot of friends from different countries in Africa. And Indonesia, of course.
Yeah.
But mostly from Africa. Through those friendships, really had the opportunity to see how hard families were having being transplanted into the United States, whether they're refugees or they're filing for asylum, the transitions and how it was so hard for them to connect to different resources, even like learning the languages or getting a job or finding equitable housing or food, that I thought, I can't turn my back on it. I've seen this. There's people that are they're living very difficult, horrible lives. Somebody needs to walk alongside them, and that person's going to be me. So one of them. There's other people that do the same thing. I couldn't turn my back on it, which is why I encourage people that if you see inequities or you see injustices, we all have the ability to say, that's not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah.
And so we all have the ability to say, I'm going to make a difference. I only might be able to make a little bit of a difference, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this doesn't happen. And so my wife and I created a nonprofit where we help connect people to resources to increase quality of life. And now we have people from other countries who have been through the police academy and are now police officers. We have people in nursing school that we're working with from other countries, you
nice.
know. So, and we also have, now we do some legal immigration work as well as the boots on the ground, helping connect people to resources so they can have a decent quality of life.
Wow,
That's
very
interesting.
inspiring.
So it's like, how many people so far you've been helping?
We started a little over 4 years ago, and I'd say it's over 5,000 right now. People that
5,000?
5,000 people that we've had the opportunity to walk with.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and you know, and I wouldn't, I try to shy away from the word helping, because they're making a choice too. Like they could see this white guy. For those of you who aren't watching, I'm white. I'm the only one at the table that's like white.
They
so.
can. I would say.
Don't worry,
no, I
we're
mean,
not racist.
I think I would say they would.
We're not racist. you know?
Okay, but they're not racist, so I feel safe. I feel safe
I
right
know
now.
you were just. I think even you don't say that, everybody can tell if you're by your accent.
Okay, they can tell. Okay.
Yeah, the way you talk.
So I will say that, you know, for someone to say, hey, I'm going to be accepting to walk with this American family who's a cop, and I'm going to walk with them. I mean, it's a two-way street. So, you know, I'd say walking with people on their journey to be successful in America is what we do.
What drives you?
Love of people.
Nice.
And seeing injustices and seeing things that are inequitable, and just not having a tolerance for letting that happen.
Connecting to that, were you seeing or experiencing injustice or inequity? So that way you want to help people that have been experiencing or related to that?
You know, I will say, when I was younger, and I won't name the state, but we moved around a lot when I was younger, and my dad took a role at a church in a really, really small town in the type of state that where if your daddy's daddy wasn't from there, then you were going to be ostracized. And so I have experienced like poverty where, you know, not having clothes that fit, and people having to bring food to our house, and being picked on or ostracized or singled out at school, you know, because I was different or I wasn't from there. So yeah, I experienced that probably between the 6th grade and the 9th grade. Pretty good. So yeah, I know what it feels like to be on the short end, but that doesn't even compare to the individuals I'm working with that are coming from these war-torn countries where they've watched their families get killed. They've experienced just things that we can't even imagine here in the United States. So my story's not as nearly as traumatic as theirs, but I do know what it feels like to be frowned upon by people around you.
I see.
And not feel like you have any support or any hope.
I understand.
Joe, do you have another question?
Yeah. What's the name of your nonprofit, and how people can make a donation to
your
nonprofit?
Well, everybody here with millions of dollars is watching. Now, Valens Solutions, VALENS Solutions, SOLUTIONS. And if you went to valensolutions.org, you could learn a lot more about the nonprofit and what we do.
Cool.
Yeah.
A quick question before your last say. What advice would you give to someone aspiring to become a police officer?
Be humble, love people, really look at that career as an opportunity to make a difference in the community, a positive difference in the community and people's lives in the community.
That's very impressive.
That's very, very, very nice. Thank you very much for this, for your time. And what is basically your final say? What can you say to the people listening? What can you say also to the student of Sinclair College? What can you say to the community?
Okay. You know, one piece of advice I like to give people is, you know, one of the biggest things we need to do is just love other people. Show genuine love for other people, and find people who didn't grow up where you grew up, who aren't like you, and be friends. and find people not like you and make those connections and just learn to love people, and the world is just a lot better place. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for asking me to come on here.
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
we truly
coming.
appreciate it. It's a very
I wanted to ask you a quick question. What do you get from what he said? Like, what do you get? What are the things that you can go home with from his talk?
well. I hope that our listeners get the same or got the same ideas or insightful stories or words that I really admire you like more. Even like I met you in July, and then today I'm very inspired by you. I mean, by the story you have shared with us, because like I mean, you're amazing chief or person that I've ever met so far here in the U.S. Because you're very inspiring. The way you look at people, and then the story you have shared, the genuity. I think I kind of touched by that because we're living in a world where we are. I mean, there's so much different in the world, people, race, and everything. But then the way you look at it, like it was very heartwarming for me. So I thank you so much for the great experience that you have shared with us, especially the mental health for the people, and I've learned a lot, I would say, and I wish that our listeners too learned a lot from you, because we are really looking forward to have you for another podcast if it's possible.
Sure.
What about you?
That's what happened when you have a conversation
Yeah.
with Chief. You know, it is somebody full of wisdom. And I remember every single time when people ask me the question, "Who is your social host?" and I say, "I have Chief as my social host." They say, "Oh man, that's awesome, man. You're lucky." That's why they say. That's what they say to me. They say, "You lucky."
Okay.
And I realize how much I grow every single day with him, and with his great. I mean, he's a great support for me, and we also learned a lot of things from this conversation. And I definitely wrote down the quote of Maxwell, as you said, everything rises and falls in leadership. And I remember before coming to the state, I met someone. He told me, "Don't play with your leadership." That's what he told me. Don't play with your leadership skills. You know, always consider yourself as a leader. And when he just voiced out this quote, it really resonated with me. And if you're looking for volunteer for Valence Solutions, we are your volunteers. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know. And that's it.
So-
Yeah, I would say thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate your time. And you got something to say?
No, I was just gonna say thank you, and then don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, and share. Leave a comment below on this comment section. Just let us know what you think about our insightful yet inspiring conversation with Chief Thompson. So yeah,
Yes, sir. Yeah. So hope you enjoy the conversation. Remember, as he said, to like, comment, and share, and get your friends to do so. Thank you very much, and see you next time in another episode.